Eric, Kosher Nutrients. Wanted to take a couple of minutes, tell y'all a little bit about how we got started. I got about a 20-minute drive, so I don't know. It's going to be a long story. Maybe we can break it down into sections. So we're going to call this The Adventures of Kosher Nutrients, Part 1. I guess it all started when I was in school for plant science. I went to school for plant science for the purposes of getting a job in the cannabis industry. We were part of that gray area, black market growth spurt a while back. We grew cannabis for a long, long time, and as the market got more saturated and more people decided they started going commercial and more industrialized and whatnot. So I decided to go back to school to get my degree in plant science. And with that, I was going to hopefully land a job at one of the large-scale cannabis production facilities that was kind of slowly but surely putting us out of business. So I went back to school for plant science, and while I was in school, I guess I really kind of fell in love with the nutrient aspect and the chemistry aspect of nutrients and feeding the plants and the life cycle of the plant. It became more than just growing weed. I became really, really interested in the plant itself and the function of it. So I got really involved with making nutrients, and I teamed up with a couple of my professors, and we went to work to make a nutrient recipe. By this time, I had been growing for like 15 years, and it seems like every single recipe out there was something off about it. The recipe didn't seem balanced. It's like you always get a part A and a part B, and for some reason, you always wind up with more A than B. Or your recipe always calls for 6 grams of this and 2.5 grams of that. That was frustrating. So we kind of set out on this mission to change that. We wanted to create a very balanced, very easy to use recipe, mainly for ourselves. We just wanted to simplify the process for us. We didn't even think about selling it at that point. We just wanted an easy, badass, fresh-made recipe to feed our own plants, so we don't have to go pay market prices on nutrients. So we went to work writing this recipe, and we came up with we had a rough draft. Granted, we were still growing at this point, so we were testing all of these recipes on our own crops, and it went pretty bad the first year. Off of a simple mistake that actually I didn't even make that mistake. That was one of my plant science instructors. I don't want to name drop him, but he's an old timer. He's been doing this for a long time. He used to blend nutrients before he started teaching. He's a good guy. Taught me a lot about nutrients. But on this particular day, I don't know, maybe he didn't have his spectacles on, but we mixed up the magnesium and the manganese. The recipe called for magnesium, but the abbreviations are very similar, Mg and Mn, and it must have slipped his old brain, and when he's giving me the list of what to add or whatever, he tells me the magnesium dosage for manganese. Magnesium you use a fair amount. Manganese you use very, very, very little. So by giving it the same amount that you would give, the same amount of manganese that you would, if you were to give it magnesium, that's a lot. It's a whole lot of manganese. So it was like, boom, kill your crop. And damn, what went wrong? I don't know. Try it again. Boom, kill another crop. And it's just all the friends that were helping me got to a point where it was like, fuck this, I'm going back to buying the recipe. At least my plants were alive, and I was, everybody kind of gave up on it, and I didn't want to give up. I figured, fuck, it can't be this hard. Like, what happened, and that's what it was. Upon further inspection, we broke down the recipe, and we found that we accidentally given it a massive amount of manganese when it should have been magnesium. And that was so. We adjusted that, made that correction, and it was like, boom, had a good crop. Boom, had a good crop. Of course, from there, we still spent like a good year adjusting this recipe, dialing this recipe in, getting it the way it is today. And actually, the first recipe that we wrote, I think we ended up scrapping it. But so it was, it was a long process. I'm coming up with ideas and I'm bringing it to my professor, and he's saying, yeah, this is going to work, or no, that's not going to work, and why can't we do this, and well, this reacts with that. And so one day I finally wrote a recipe, and he told me that, he kept telling me that my percentages were wrong. If I add in these amounts of these products, the end result would not be this percent. And I disagreed. And we actually had a pretty significant argument about it, simply because I did not come up with these numbers the traditional way, I guess you could say. They have a formula that they use, that they teach for how to get this amount of nitrogen or phosphorus or whatever into a solution, this quantity or whatever. But the key fact that I think that they were missing is their whole formula applied to applying this to per acre of land. Anyway, long story short, I used a different roundabout way to come up with my numbers, and because I did not use the same traditional formula that he used, he disagreed. He wouldn't even look at it. Said, hey, this can't be right. You did this wrong. This is not how it's supposed to be done. And totally dismissed it. Wouldn't even give it his time of day, which was really upsetting to me. I was a straight A student in his class for 2 years, and we had a really good relationship. Had breakfast on the weekends sometimes, and for him to just totally dismiss it because I used a different method of obtaining my numbers than he did, and he wouldn't even hear me out, would not even let me explain how I came up with my numbers, which was upsetting to me. And I get it, it was not a traditional method, but I feel like I was trying to do something new. I was trying to do something different. I used a process that I call, it was proportional. I used proportions, ratios, fractions, percentages to achieve the numbers that I achieved, rather than pounds per acre or pounds per grams per gallon. It was a little bit different, not something that they were used to, and wouldn't even give it the time of day. And so we kind of went separate directions after that, and I pushed on to put my recipe together. Did another year or two of testing on it. Everything was working great for us. I mean, we're hitting record numbers. We're being tested clean, no heavy metals, no resin. It was a good solid recipe that ran clean. It can be diluted, it can be concentrated. It was, I felt like we were onto something. And as I'm actually going to have to get off the phone here, we'll have part 2 of this real soon. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is Eric, Kosher Nutrients. You guys have a great day.